A name echoes through the ages, Julius Caesar. Even now, centuries after his death, it carries weight. It speaks of ambition, of power. It whispers of betrayal and blood. Caesar's story is not just history, it's a warning, a reminder that even the most powerful can fall. From humble beginnings, he rose to conquer. His name, once unknown, became legend. Caesar reshaped Rome, he redefined power. His actions still influence us today, but power, like fire, consumes all it touches. Caesar's ambition grew, his enemies multiplied. In the end, it was not on a battlefield where he fell, it was amongst friends in the heart of Rome. His story is a tragedy, a rapid ascent and a brutal fall. But within it lies a question: was Caesar a hero or a tyrant? The answer, like the man himself, is complex. Born into a turbulent Rome, Caesar was not destined for greatness, at least not at first. He was a child of the Republic, a time of both opportunity and danger. His family, though ancient and noble, held little real power. They were a shadow of their former glory.
But even as a boy, I possessed a spark, a fire that hinted at my future.
He was quick-witted, ambitious. He excelled in both rhetoric and physical pursuits. Caesar understood the power of words. He also knew the importance of action. His early years were marked by both triumph and tragedy. He faced political rivals and personal losses. Through it all, he learned to navigate the treacherous world of Roman politics. This was a world of shifting alliances and hidden daggers, a world where power was a dangerous game. And Caesar, he was a quick learner. He was destined to play that game better than anyone else. Rome, a city of splendor and squalor. It was a crucible where ambition thrived. Here young Caesar honed his skills, learning the art of war and politics. He observed the machinations of the Senate. He saw how power was won and lost. His family's legacy, though faded, opened doors. It provided him with a platform.
But I yearned for more than just a name. I craved real power, the kind that commanded legions and reshaped nations.
He threw himself into the political arena. He cultivated allies and outmaneuvered rivals. His eloquence, his charisma drew people to him. They saw in him a leader, a champion. But Rome was a dangerous place for the ambitious. Enemies lurked in every shadow. Jealous rivals plotted against him. Caesar, ever vigilant, learned to anticipate their moves. He knew that survival depended on cunning, on always being one step ahead. Military glory beckoned. Caesar, eager to prove himself, sought command. He understood that true power flowed from the point of a sword. His campaigns took him across the Roman world, from the sun-baked plains of Spain to the rugged mountains of Gaul. It was in the east where his legend truly began. Caesar's victories against the Pontus king, Mithridates, were swift and decisive. He returned to Rome a conquering hero, his name on everyone's lips. The people hailed him as a savior, but his triumphs fueled the fires of envy in Rome. His growing popularity alarmed the Senate. They saw him as a threat to their authority, a force that could upset the balance of power. Caesar, however, was undeterred. He had tasted victory, both on the battlefield and in the political arena. He knew his destiny lay beyond the confines of the Senate. He would become more than just another senator. He would be master of Rome. Returning to Rome, Caesar found a city in turmoil. Political factions clashed, their ambitions threatening to tear the Republic apart. The Senate, paralyzed by indecision, seemed incapable of governing. The people looked to Caesar for leadership. They saw in him a man of action, a man who could restore order. Caesar, sensing opportunity, seized the moment. He formed a powerful alliance with two influential figures, Pompey the Great and Marcus Crassus. Together they formed the First Triumvirate, a pact that would dominate Roman politics. The triumvirate brought stability, but it came at a price. Caesar, though not yet consul, wielded immense power. He used it ruthlessly, crushing his enemies and rewarding his allies. Yet, amidst his triumphs, tragedy struck. Julia, his beloved daughter and wife of Pompey, died in childbirth. Her death shattered the fragile peace. The bonds of family, once strong, began to fray. The stage was set for a conflict that would decide the fate of Rome. Gaul, a land of fierce warriors and divided tribes, would become Caesar's crucible. It was here, on the battlefields of Gaul, that he would prove his military genius. Caesar, leading his legions across the Alps, embarked on a campaign of conquest, seeking to subdue the Gallic tribes and expand Rome's dominion. The Gauls, fierce and proud, resisted with all their might. Their leader, Vercingetorix, a chieftain of unmatched bravery and cunning, rallied the tribes against the Roman invaders. The battles were brutal, the stakes high. Caesar's legions, though outnumbered, were a disciplined fighting force. They marched under the eagle standards of Rome, their loyalty forged in the fires of countless campaigns. Caesar, a master strategist, inspired his men with his courage and determination. He led from the front, sharing their dangers and hardships. He understood the minds of his soldiers, their fears and their hopes. It was this bond, this mutual respect, that made Caesar's legions so formidable. While Caesar campaigned in Gaul, the situation in Rome deteriorated. Pompey, once his ally, had grown wary of his growing power and influence. The Senate, dominated by Caesar's enemies, issued a decree. Caesar must disband his legions and return to Rome as a private citizen. Faced with this ultimatum, Caesar knew he had a fateful choice to make. To obey the Senate meant surrendering his command, risking arrest and trial. To defy them meant civil war, plunging Rome into chaos. At the Rubicon River, the boundary between Gaul and Italy, Caesar hesitated. To cross it with his legions was an act of treason. Legend has it that he uttered the now famous words, "The die is cast," and ordered his legions forward. The Rubicon was crossed. Civil war had begun. Caesar marched on Rome, his legions sweeping aside all resistance. Pompey, caught off guard, fled south, his forces in disarray. Caesar had become an enemy of the state, but to his legions, he was their leader, their champion. Section 3, Caesar victorious, the price of power. The civil war raged across the Roman world, a clash of titans. Caesar, a brilliant tactician, outmaneuvered and defeated his enemies one by one. His legions, loyal and battle-hardened, swept through Italy, then across the sea to Greece and Egypt. At Pharsalus, on the plains of Thessaly, Caesar confronted Pompey's forces in a decisive battle. The clash was epic, a desperate struggle for control of Rome's destiny. Caesar's legions, though outnumbered, fought with their usual ferocity. Pompey's forces broke, scattered before Caesar's relentless advance. Pompey himself, defeated and disillusioned, fled to Egypt seeking refuge. Caesar, in pursuit, landed in Alexandria only to learn of Pompey's assassination at the hands of the Egyptians. He was now the master of Rome, but victory had come at a terrible cost. The Republic, weakened by years of civil war, lay in ruins. Caesar, once a champion of the people, had become a dictator ruling by decree. The Senate, though cowed, watched him with suspicion, their whispers of conspiracy echoing through the halls of power. Caesar stood triumphant. Rome, weary of war, lay at his feet. The Senate, once his adversary, now bowed before him, their power diminished. He was declared dictator for life, a title that sent chills down the spines of those who cherished the old ways. Yet Caesar was not content with mere conquest. He envisioned a Rome reborn, a Rome remade in his image. He embarked on a whirlwind of reforms, seeking to heal the wounds of war and secure his legacy. He extended Roman citizenship, reformed the calendar, and established new colonies. The people, for the most part, welcomed his changes. They had known only strife and uncertainty. Caesar offered them stability, a chance to rebuild their lives. He was a stern but just ruler, a man of action who understood the needs of the common people. But beneath the surface, resentment simmered. The old families, stripped of their power, plotted in the shadows. They saw Caesar as a tyrant, a threat to the very foundations of the Republic. They whispered of liberty, of restoring the old order. Caesar, ever alert to threats, surrounded himself with loyal followers. He had earned the devotion of his legions, who saw him as their protector, their emperor in all but name. He showered them with riches and honors, ensuring their continued support. But the whispers persisted, growing louder in the halls of power. The Senate, though powerless to oppose him openly, became a breeding ground for discontent. They resented his absolute rule, his disregard for their authority.
Among them rose a group of men, senators who called themselves the Liberatores, the Liberators. They believed that Caesar's ambition had corrupted him, that he had become a danger to the Republic. They saw only one solution: Caesar must be removed. They moved in the shadows, their plans veiled in secrecy. They needed to act swiftly, decisively, before Caesar consolidated his power further. They found common cause with those who had suffered under Caesar's rule, those who yearned for a return to the old order.
The Ides of March approached, a date etched in the Roman calendar. It was to be a day of celebration, a day of games and festivities. Caesar, oblivious to the danger swirling around him, prepared to address the Senate, his mind on matters of state. He had received warnings, whispers of plots against him, but he dismissed them as the ravings of jealous men. He had survived wars, conquered nations. Surely he could handle a few disgruntled senators.
As he entered the Senate chamber, the air crackled with tension. The senators, their faces a mask of false cordiality, closed ranks around him, their togas concealing their true intentions. Among them were the conspirators, their eyes cold, their resolve hardened.
Julius Caesar, one of the conspirators, approached Caesar, pretending to plead for his exiled brother's return. As Caesar brushed him aside, Casca, another conspirator, lunged, his dagger finding its mark. Caesar, stunned, cried out in pain. Then, all at once, the others struck, their daggers flashing in the sunlight streaming through the chamber windows. The Senate chamber, once a symbol of Roman power and order, descended into chaos. Senators, their faces a mixture of shock and horror, scrambled for the exits, their togas billowing around them. The conspirators, their daggers dripping with Caesar's blood, stood over the fallen dictator, their faces grim, their mission accomplished.
Et tu, Brute? Caesar gasped, his voice barely a whisper, as he recognized Marcus Junius Brutus, his close friend and confidant among his assassins. The words, etched in history, spoke volumes of the betrayal that cut deeper than any blade.
The conspirators, their initial shock subsiding, turned to face the fleeing senators, their daggers still drawn.
"People of Rome," Brutus called out, his voice ringing with a conviction he desperately hoped would mask the tremor in his heart. "We are here to liberate you from tyranny. Caesar is dead, the Republic is saved." Caesar lay sprawled on the cold marble floor, his lifeblood staining the pristine white togas of the senators. The dagger blows meant to silence him had unleashed a storm that would engulf Rome.
The air grew heavy as Caesar drew his last breath. The man who had defied kings and reshaped Rome was no more. Outside, the news of Caesar's assassination spread like wildfire. The Republic stood on the brink of chaos.
The assassination of Caesar ignited a firestorm. Rome, already divided, fractured further. The people demanded justice for their fallen hero.
Mark Antony seized the moment. A shrewd politician and gifted orator, he understood the power of spectacle. He displayed Caesar's mutilated body to the crowd.
His words ignited the crowd's fury. The crowd demanded vengeance. The conspirators fled Rome seeking refuge. The Republic plunged into civil wars, each faction vying for control.
Caesar's death, a bloody spectacle etched into the annals of history, marked not the end but a beginning. The Republic, already teetering on the precipice, plunged into the abyss of civil war. The conspirators, their noble ideals drowned out by the clang of swords and the screams of the fallen, had unleashed a force they could not control. From the ashes of that conflict rose Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, who would become Augustus, the first Roman emperor. The Republic, once a beacon of freedom and democracy, gave way to the empire, a sprawling dominion ruled by a single, all-powerful hand. Caesar's dream of a unified, powerful Rome had come to pass, but not as he had envisioned. The very power he had sought to consolidate had consumed the Republic he claimed to love. Was this his tragic flaw, or the inevitable course of history? The legacy of the Caesars, a tapestry woven from threads of ambition, violence, and enduring achievement, continues to fascinate and provoke. Their names, etched into marble and myth, remind us that power, like a double-edged sword, can both build and destroy. Across the Rubicon of time, Caesar's ghost still walks. His name, synonymous with power and ambition, echoes through history. From the battlefields of Gaul to the marble halls of the Senate, Caesar's story captivates our imaginations. Was he a tyrant who crushed the Republic, or a visionary who sought a better Rome? The answer remains elusive, shrouded in the mists of time. Yet, one thing is certain. Julius Caesar, the man who dared to cross the Rubicon, left an indelible mark on the world.